In line with the spooky season, several horror titles abound. And of course, how could we miss the premiere of Halloween Ends? Is it finally over? For today's video, we'll be talking about the conclusion of the epic Halloween saga with Halloween Ends, but the question is, did they pick the wrong ending? As it turns out, there was an original plan that got scrapped. Find out all about this and more in today's video. David Gordon Green claims that Halloween Ends almost had a different conclusion entirely, but was changing it the right or wrong move. Halloween Ends author David Gordon Green reportedly had a different ending in mind at first, but it was abandoned, according to an interview with Entertainment Weekly. This finale had a completely different tone from the final version, which supposedly varied greatly. Whether it was the correct or wrong choice, Halloween Ends ultimately chose the Haddonfield procession conclusion that's currently included in the movie. With the help of longtime antagonist Michael Myers, copycat killer Corey Cunningham terrorizes Haddonfield in Halloween Ends, a significant departure from the other films in the Halloween reboot franchise. Before Michael kills Corey and takes back his mask in Halloween Ends, Corey shows up at Laurie's house. Following that, Michael and Laurie engage in combat, with Laurie ultimately defeating and murdering Michael. Michael's body is subsequently paraded through Haddonfield by Laurie and the locals before being thrown into a crusher in a junkyard. Following the departure of both Michael and Corey, Laurie settles down, completes her narrative, and finds peace at last. However, Halloween Ends' original ending was a little bit more modest, intimate, which suggests that it would have been rather different from the current conclusion's emphasis on somewhat bigger events like the procession to the crusher. There are a few details about the ending's content, although David Gordon Green has described why it was modified and his opinions on it. So why did Halloween Ends pick the wrong conclusion for the movie saga? The film's emphasis on Corey Cunningham is by far its most intriguing element because it dives deeply into the societal factors that can lead someone down this path of violence. Halloween Ends attempts to depict how Corey transforms from a normal guy into a killer akin to Michael Myers, in contrast to Michael Myers, who is portrayed as an emotionless, unmotivated killer. Halloween Ends is a far more intimate story than Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, and as a result, it requires an intimate finish to satisfactorily conclude it. It seemed inevitable that Michael Myers would appear in Halloween Ends, but the big ending as it stands looks extremely pasted on. The Haddonfield procession scene is a sad point in the film, since the first two acts of the plot primarily concentrate on the relationships between Corey, Allison, and Laurie Strode, and the third act shifts its focus to Michael Myers and the irate residents of Haddonfield. The tacked-on junkyard finale feels like the wrong decision when compared to the rest of the film. Therefore, it's likely that Green's original ending would have worked much better. So now we know that Halloween Ends is supposed to have a more intimate ending. What made them change their mind to choose the other ending? Halloween Ends' more private ending content is unknown, but the explanation for its alteration is known. In the same interview, Green explains that because test audiences didn't respond favorably to the previous finale, he wanted something a little more opulent. To remedy this, the movie introduced the procession finale, which provided a climactic glimpse at each of Haddonfield's characters from the three movies. While Halloween Ends writers may think it's perfect the way it is, the film's nature may have suited a more subdued, private conclusion better. Now that we know that Halloween Ends was supposed to wrap up on a different note, we also have a few questions left unanswered on our end. Let's begin with the basics. Is Michael Myers gone for good? In Halloween Ends, Laurie Strode defeats Michael in the ultimate battle by repeatedly stabbing him until he passes away in her kitchen. But Laurie decides that isn't enough, and she ends up taking Michael Myers' body to a junkyard in Haddonfield, where she puts it into a crusher where the movie shows it being viciously torn apart by the device. Even though Michael Myers has previously died and resurrected, suggesting that he may be immortal, the 2018 reboot retcons all subsequent films save for the original 1978 Halloween, making this Michael's first passing in this universe. Since there were no supernatural components in the reboot trilogy, Michael Myers' demise seemed to be inevitable. However, there is a chance that a copycat murderer will emerge. Halloween Ends begins with Laurie expanding on the themes of Halloween Kills by describing how Michael's legacy has impacted Haddonfield. Having another copycat killer would undoubtedly continue many of the themes of the reboot trilogy. However, it is uncertain. Another question we have about Michael Myers is, why was he living in the sewers? Michael Myers has been residing in Haddonfield sewers for the past 4 years, but Halloween Ends never explains why that particular spot. The Myers home was destroyed after the Halloween Kills incidents, but Michael stays in the area rather than running away. It's safe to assume assume that Michael never lost interest in killing Laurie. Thus, he intended to remain in Haddonfield until the opportune moment and carry out random killings to refuel. But because of his notorious misdeeds, he's compelled to dwell in an open sewer beneath a bridge to evade detection. Although Michael's original motives are never made clear, it's plausible to conclude that he becomes driven by retaliation, given that he exploits Corey's murders as justification to pursue Laurie. And last but not least, will there be another Halloween movie after this? Halloween Ends might not be the final installment in the series, despite what the title and promotional materials imply. There's always a chance that the Halloween series, with its countless sequels, will continue. With Rob Zombie's 2 Halloween movies, which were released in the late 2000s, the most current trilogy is already the second reboot of the plot. There's currently no information. However, another spin-off, sequel, or reboot may not be too far off depending on Halloween Ends' box office performance and critical reception. Going back, we discussed earlier how Halloween Ends had a different ending initially, but did you know, theirs isn't the only horror thriller movie that was supposed to have a different conclusion. In fact, here's a short list of other horror movie titles that should have had a different ending. Let's begin with Get Out. The entire plot of this movie took strange turns, and until the very end, you're still not sure what's going on. The conclusion of the story is largely satisfying in terms of the plot. The alternative conclusion has a significantly worse outcome for our main character. Next, we have The Butterfly Effect. Ashton Kutcher's character travels back in time to make sure he never meets the girl of his dreams to stop the destructive cycle. In the alternate ending, the protagonist goes back and strangles himself in utero to prevent his birth, going one step further. Yikes. Continuing with the list, we also have Midsommar. The whole director's cut of this movie, which was released by Ari Aster, contains several scenes that weren't included in the final product. One such scene is a hidden ceremony, which is equally as horrifying as the ones in the film, if not more so. Up next, we also have Hostel. The main character, Paxton, kills the businessman who tormented Paxton while he was imprisoned in the original ending. In the alternative conclusion, Paxton abducts the child as retaliation. However, it was decided to stick with the original since the director didn't view kidnapping as being as heroic of a form of vengeance as murder. Moving on to the next one, we also have 1408. In the movie 1408, John Cusack plays a character who's having a difficult time coping with both the loss of his daughter and his tense relationship with his ex-wife. He decides to spend the night in a haunted hotel room to disprove the stories. It turns out that room 1408 at the Dolphin Hotel is no joke. He starts a fire in the room in the final cut's climax and is narrowly saved by firefighters. Cusack's character first perishes in the fire and transforms into one of the spirits that haunt 1408. Also in today's list, we have Paranormal Activity. The loosey-goosey premise of the franchise gave the Paranormal Activity director so much joy that they were able to shoot many epilogues. Because Paramount planned to make more films based on the first one, Katie was kept alive. Last but not least, we have Final Destination. The romance between Alex and Clear was entirely removed from the film's creators. After Clear goes on a tirade about her father's troubles, they end up hooking up and she becomes pregnant. However, Alex sacrifices himself so that Clear is skipped, thereby saving her life and the life of her unborn child. This changes everything. And there you have it. So that'll be all for today's video about Halloween Ends' alternate ending, as well as several other horror movies that were supposed to wrap up on a different note. Have you watched Halloween Ends yet? Do you think they'll make a spin-off of this movie? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching today's video, and before you go, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on for more videos like these.